My wife Margaret died at 3 in the afternoon. By 8 that same night, my daughter-in-law stood in my living room, pointing at the door. "Pack your bags, old man. You don't belong here anymore." I looked at my son Travis standing behind her, silent, useless. I could have told them about the $35 million. I could have mentioned the villa in Los Angeles, with my name on the deed. Instead, I said one word. "All right?" Then I smiled. The smile confused Amber. Good. Let her wonder what it meant while I walked upstairs to pack. My legs felt heavy climbing those steps, each one a reminder that Margaret would never climb them again. We bought this house 42 years ago when Travis was just a baby. I built the nursery with my own hands. Added the sunroom where Margaret spent her mornings reading. Every nail, every board, every coat of paint carried our history. Now I was packing a single suitcase like a guest, overstaying his welcome. Amber followed me upstairs, her heels clicking against the hardwood floors Margaret had insisted we install 15 years back. "Don't take too long," she said, leaning against the doorframe of the bedroom Margaret and I had shared for 4 decades. "Travis and I need to start making arrangements." "Arrangements," I repeated, folding a shirt. "My wife died this morning. What arrangements are so urgent they can't wait? This house is too much for you to handle alone." Her voice had that practiced sympathy I'd heard her use on telephone customer service representatives. "You're grieving. You're not thinking clearly. It's better if Travis and I take over the responsibilities." I placed Margaret's wedding photo in my suitcase, wrapped in a sweater for protection. Amber's eyes fixed on it immediately. "That should stay here," she said. "It belongs to the family. I am the family. You know what I mean. Family memories should stay with the house." I zipped the suitcase with the photo safely inside. "This picture goes where I go." For a moment, something cold flashed across Amber's face. Then the sympathetic mask returned. "Of course, I understand. Grief makes us sentimental." Travis appeared in the hallway. My son, 43 years old, and he couldn't meet my eyes. When did he become such a stranger? Was it when he met Amber 5 years ago? Or had I simply been too blind to notice the change happening gradually? "Dad," he said quietly, "maybe this is for the best. Just for a little while. Until you figure things out. Figure things out. As if I were the one who needed to get my head straight." I looked at my son, really looked at him, and saw a man I barely recognized. Weak chin, slouched shoulders, hands shoved in his pockets like a teenager caught doing something wrong. "Where will you go?" Amber asked, though her tone suggested she didn't particularly care. "I'll find somewhere. We can help you look at some senior communities. Nice places with activities and meal plans." Senior communities. She meant warehouses where old people go to wait for death. "I'll handle it myself." I carried my suitcase downstairs. The house felt different already, like it knew I was leaving. Margaret's embroidered pillows still sat on the couch where she'd placed them last week, before her final hospital stay. Her reading glasses rested on the side table, bookmarks still in her mystery novel at page 217. She never got to finish it. "I'll come back for my tools," I said. "Tomorrow." "That's fine," Travis said quickly. "Actually," Amber interrupted, "it might be better to call first. We'll be going through things, organizing. We don't want to be in your way, in my own house, built with my own money and labor." But I just nodded and walked out the door. The drive to Sunset Motel took 20 minutes. Route 44 stretched empty in the darkness, streetlights casting orange pools on the asphalt. The motel sign flickered its neon promise of vacancy. I'd passed this place 1,000 times, never imagining I'd be staying here. Harold, the night clerk, was older than me by a decade. Liver spots covered his hands as he pushed the registration card across the counter. "How long you staying?" "A week to start." He looked at me with eyes that had seen a lot of hard luck stories. "Rough day?" "You could say that." Room 12. Quiet end of the building. I paid cash and took the key. The room smelled of industrial cleaning solution trying to mask years of cigarette smoke. The carpet had worn paths to the bathroom and bed. The television was bolted to the dresser. The air conditioning unit rattled like it had emphysema. I sat on the bed. The springs creaked. Somewhere down the hall, a couple argued in muffled voices. Traffic hummed on the highway. I pulled out Margaret's photo. We were so young. I was 24, she was 22. Her dress was simple, her smile genuine. My hair was dark then, thick. Now it was white and thin. But Margaret stayed young in this picture. Always would. "Don't let them take advantage of you, Caesar," she'd whispered 3 days ago in the hospital. Her voice was weak, barely audible over the machines. "You're stronger than they think." I'd held her hand, careful of the IV line. "I know. Promise me you won't let them push you around." "I promise." She squeezed my fingers with what little strength she had left. "Good. Because I didn't marry a pushover. I married a fighter." Those were almost her last words to me. 2 hours later, she slipped into unconsciousness. The next morning, she was gone. I lay back on the motel bed, still holding her photo. The ceiling had a water stain shaped like a map of some country I didn't recognize. Sleep wouldn't come. Instead, I thought about Travis, my son, my only child. He'd been a good boy once, smart, kind, ambitious. Got his business degree, landed a decent job in pharmaceutical sales. Then he met Amber at some conference in Dallas. 6 months later, they were married. Margaret had concerns. "There's something about her," she'd said. "Something calculating." I'd dismissed it. Thought she was being overprotective. Now I wished I'd listened. The next morning, I drove back to the house. Not to move back in, but to collect my woodworking tools from the garage. Those tools represented 40 years of craftsmanship. My table saw, my lathe, my hand planes. Margaret had given me the router for our 20th anniversary. I pulled into the driveway at 9 in the morning. Travis's sedan sat next to Amber's SUV. I walked to the garage, used my key on the side door. It didn't work. I tried again. The key slid in but wouldn't turn. I examined the lock. New. They'd changed it overnight. Frustrated, I walked to the front door. Knocked. Waited. Knocked again. No answer, though I could hear movement inside. Travis's car was here. They were home. "Caesar?" My neighbor Patricia came across the lawn. She was 72, had lived next door since before Travis was born. "What are you doing?" "Getting my tools. They changed the locks." Patricia's face showed uncertainty. "Oh, well, Amber mentioned you'd been having some trouble." "What kind of trouble?" "She said things got a bit heated. That you were angry about Margaret passing. Understandably, of course, but that you said some concerning things." My stomach dropped. "What things?" "She didn't give details. Just said she and Travis were worried about you, that you'd gotten a little aggressive." "Patricia, you've known me for 30 years. I know, Caesar. I know. But grief does strange things to people." She backed away slightly. "Maybe you should call before coming over. Give them some notice." I watched her retreat to her house. Amber had been busy, spreading poison, making me look unstable. I returned to my truck, sat behind the wheel. Through the front window of my house, I saw the curtain move. Someone watching me, waiting for me to leave. I was about to start the engine when a police cruiser turned onto the street. It pulled up behind my truck. 2 officers got out, young guys, probably early 30s. They approached carefully, hands near their belts. "Sir, I need you to step out of the vehicle." "What's this about?" "Just step out, please." I complied. The officers positioned themselves on either side of me, professional but tense. "Are you Caesar Whitmore?" "I am." The front door opened. Amber came out, phone in hand, looking frightened. She'd called them. Of course she had. "Officers, thank goodness you're here," she said. "I have a restraining order. He's not supposed to be here." "A what?" I stared at her. She walked over, carrying printed documents. "I filed it this morning. For our protection." Officer Lopez took the papers, scanned them. "Sir, this is a temporary restraining order prohibiting you from coming within 500 feet of this property. This is my house. I built it. The order lists you as the respondent. The petitioner is Amber Whitmore and Travis Whitmore. It alleges threats and disturbing behavior. That's insane. I haven't threatened anyone. He came here yesterday and made threatening statements, Amber said, her voice shaking convincingly. He's been calling at all hours, saying he'll make us pay for disrespecting Margaret's memory. We're frightened. I called once. Yesterday morning, to ask about my tools. He destroyed property in his grief, Amber continued. Broke things, scared us. We think he might be having some kind of breakdown. Officer Lopez looked uncomfortable. Sir, regardless of the circumstances, there's a court order. You need to leave and stay away until the hearing. When's the hearing? It says here 10 days from filing. You should receive notice in the mail. Humiliation burned through me as neighbors appeared on porches, watching. Mrs. Chen from 3 doors down. The Harringtons with their teenage kids, all seeing me being escorted away from my own property like a criminal. Let's go, sir, Officer Lopez said gently. Before this gets worse, I got in my truck and drove away, watching my house shrink in the rearview mirror. I went straight to the police station, not to argue or cause trouble, just to understand what was happening. Sergeant Davis met with me after I waited an hour. He was older, maybe 60. With gray hair and kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. Mr. Whitmore, he said, gesturing to a chair in a small conference room. I reviewed the restraining order paperwork. It's all lies. That may be. But here's what I'm seeing. He spread papers on the table. Amber Whitmore filed this with supporting statements. Your son Travis signed as a witness, confirming the incidents she described. What incidents? Davis read from the document. That on the evening of your wife's funeral, you became verbally aggressive, threatened to destroy property they'd allegedly stolen, that you've made repeated threatening phone calls over the following days, that you showed signs of mental confusion, mixing up dates and events, forgetting conversations, that they fear for their safety. None of that's true. Your son corroborated it. Those words hit harder than I expected. Travis had signed this, put his name to these lies, against his own father. There's also mention of possible early-stage dementia, Davis continued. They've attached a statement from a neighbor saying you seemed confused during a recent conversation. Patricia. They'd gotten to her too. Sergeant, I'm not confused. I'm not violent. My wife died, and less than 12 hours later, they kicked me out of my home. That's what really happened. Davis leaned back. Here's the thing, Mr. Whitmore. I've been doing this job 32 years. I've seen a lot of family disputes. Sometimes after a death, things get complicated. Emotions run high. People say things they don't mean. I didn't say anything. Maybe not. But fighting this will require a lawyer and a court hearing. You'll need to present evidence of your mental competency, character witnesses, documentation that these allegations are false. It's not impossible, but it takes time and money. I left the station with a sick feeling in my gut. This was more than just getting kicked out. They were building a case against me, creating a narrative where I was the problem. At the post office, I collected my mail from the box I'd maintained for 40 years. Bills, advertisements, and a letter from the county clerk's office. My hands shook as I opened it. Petition for emergency conservatorship, filed by Travis Whitmore. Requesting the court appoint him conservator over the person and estate of Caesar Whitmore, on grounds that Caesar Whitmore is mentally unfit to manage his own affairs due to declining cognitive function and erratic behavior following the death of his spouse. Hearing scheduled in 10 days. I sat in my truck, reading the legal language. If this went through, Travis would control everything. My assets, my decisions, where I lived, how my money was spent. I'd become a legal child, stripped of autonomy. They didn't know about the $35 million. They didn't know about the Los Angeles villa. If they did, this would be even more aggressive. But even without knowing, they were moving to take complete control, assuming whatever I had would be theirs to manage. For the first time since Margaret died, I felt real fear. Not fear of Amber or Travis themselves, but fear of the system they were weaponizing against me. Courts made these decisions every day. Elderly people lost their rights because well-meaning children convinced judges they were incompetent. Sometimes it was necessary. Sometimes it was abuse. I drove back to the motel. Harold was outside, smoking a cigarette by the ice machine. "You okay, friend?" he asked. "You look rough." "Just found out my son's trying to declare me incompetent." Harold nodded slowly. "Family's complicated. That's putting it mildly. You got a lawyer?" "Not yet. Better get one. Those conservatorship things, they can go bad fast." Knew a guy, his daughter took over his affairs, sold his house, put him in a nursing home, spent all his money. He died 6 months later, broke and miserable. Cheerful story, just being honest. You need to fight this. He was right. That afternoon, I looked up attorneys. Found one named Douglas Harper, mid-50s, with good reviews for family law and elder rights. His office was downtown, respectable but not fancy. I called, got an appointment for the next morning. That night, I lay awake in the motel room, staring at water stains on the ceiling. Somewhere, Amber and Travis were sleeping in my house, probably congratulating themselves on how smoothly their plan was progressing. They'd kicked me out, isolated me, filed legal actions to seize control. And I'd done nothing but comply. Margaret's voice echoed in my memory. "You're stronger than they think." Time to prove her right. Douglas Harper's office occupied the 3rd floor of a brick building on Main Street. His receptionist, a woman named Julie with bright red hair, offered me coffee while I waited. The walls displayed diplomas and certificates. Harper himself emerged after 5 minutes, extending his hand. "Mr. Whitmore, come in." His office had large windows overlooking the street, bookshelves lined with legal volumes. A desk organized but not obsessively neat. He gestured to a leather chair across from his desk. "Tell me everything." I did. From Margaret's death, to the immediate eviction, to the restraining order, to the conservatorship petition. Harper listened without interrupting, taking occasional notes on a legal pad. When I finished, he sat back. "This is aggressive. Unusually aggressive for someone with no documented medical issues or history of incapacity. That's because there aren't any issues. We'll need to prove that. I'll request your complete medical records. Do you have a regular physician?" "Dr. Samuel Fletcher. Seen him for 20 years. Good. I'll contact him for a statement about your mental competency. We'll also need to respond to the restraining order. Both hearings will likely be consolidated, since they involve the same parties and similar allegations." I pulled out my checkbook. "What's your retainer?" $5,000. I wrote the check without hesitation. Harper glanced at it, said nothing about the fact I was paying in full immediately. Professional discretion. "I'm going to have my paralegal pull property records on your house," Harper said. "You mentioned you built it 42 years ago?" "That's right. Margaret and I bought the land. I did most of the construction myself, contracted out what I couldn't handle. Both our names on the deed as joint tenants. So upon her death, the property should have automatically transferred to you as the surviving owner." "Should have." Harper made a note. "Let me look into that. Sometimes there are filing delays, but it's usually automatic." His paralegal, a young man named Eric, came in with a laptop. "I've got the county records pulled up." Harper turned the screen so I could see. Property history for my address. Sales records, tax assessments, ownership transfers. Eric scrolled down to recent entries. "Here," Eric said, pointing. "Filed 3 weeks ago. It was a quitclaim deed. Transferring property from Caesar Whitmore to Travis Whitmore. Dated 2 months prior." My signature at the bottom. My hands went cold. "I never signed that." Harper leaned close, examining the digital copy. "Are you certain?" "I never signed anything transferring my house to Travis. I didn't even discuss it with him." "Is that your signature?" I looked carefully. It resembled my signature. Same general shape, same loops in the letters. But something was off. Too perfect, too careful. "It looks like mine, but it's not." Harper and Eric exchanged glances. "If this is a forgery, That's a serious crime, Harper said. But we need proof. How do we prove it? Forensic handwriting analysis. I know an expert, Alan Sterling. He's expensive, but the best in the state. If this signature is forged, he'll be able to testify to that in court. Do it. Over the next 2 hours, Eric pulled more records. What we found made my blood run cold. The quitclaim deed was just the beginning. There was a power of attorney document, dated 18 months ago, allegedly giving Travis authority over my financial and legal affairs. A revised will, supposedly signed by me 3 months ago, leaving everything to Travis with no provisions for anyone else. Bank signature cards with my name, filed with Margaret's credit union, where she'd kept her teaching salary savings. Every document bore my signature. Every signature was a forgery. This wasn't impulsive, Harper said grimly. This was planned. Carefully, methodically planned, over an extended period. Someone had access to your genuine signatures, practiced replicating them, and has been filing fraudulent documents for at least a year and a half. My mind raced back. 18 months ago, I'd had surgery. Just a hernia repair, outpatient procedure, but I'd needed a few days of rest afterward. Travis and Amber had insisted on staying at the house to help. Margaret was still teaching then, gone during the days. Travis and Amber had free run of the house. They were in my house, I said slowly. 18 months back. I had surgery. They stayed to help with recovery. They would have had access to my files, my documents, my medical paperwork with my signatures. That's when they started, Harper said. They've been building this for a long time. Eric pulled up more records. There's an application here for a home equity line of credit. $50,000. Signed 3 months ago, supposedly by you. I didn't apply for any line of credit. It was approved. Funds were dispersed. To who? Account. In Travis's name. They'd been stealing from me for months. Forging my signature to drain equity from my house. Transferring assets. Positioning themselves to take everything. Harper called Alan Sterling, the handwriting expert. Sterling arrived within an hour, a thin man in his 60s with magnifying equipment and specialized lighting. He examined copies of the forged documents, alongside examples of my genuine signature from old tax returns and contracts Harper had requested from my files. After 30 minutes of intense scrutiny, Sterling looked up. These are forgeries. Sophisticated ones, but forgeries nonetheless. How can you tell? Harper asked. Several indicators. First, the pressure points are too uniform. When someone forges a signature by tracing, they apply consistent pressure throughout. A genuine signature has natural variations based on the writer's hand movement and speed. Second, there are microscopic hesitation marks, barely visible, where the forger paused to ensure accuracy. Genuine signatures are fluid. Third, the tremor patterns are wrong. Caesar has a slight natural tremor, common in men his age. It appears in his genuine signatures. The forged signatures lack that tremor, suggesting someone younger with a steadier hand attempted to copy his signature, but couldn't replicate that natural characteristic. Can you testify to this in court? Absolutely. I'll prepare a full forensic report with photographic evidence and microscopic analysis. This will hold up under cross-examination. How long to prepare the report? 3 days. Harper turned to me. This is good news and bad news. Good news, we can prove forgery, which destroys their case and exposes them to criminal prosecution. Bad news, preparing all this, filing motions, getting court dates, it takes time. Your conservatorship hearing is in 8 days. Can we get it delayed? I'll try. But judges don't like delays in conservatorship cases. They're considered urgent. If we can't delay it, we'll have to fight it with what we have. I left Harper's office that evening feeling simultaneously vindicated and terrified. We had evidence of crimes. But would it be enough? Would we have time to present it properly? Or would the hearing happen, the judge believe Amber's lies, and I'd lose everything before the truth came out? Back at the motel, I couldn't eat. Harold brought me a sandwich from the diner anyway. left it outside my door with a note saying, "Eat something, friend." I picked at the sandwich, managed a few bites. Then I did something I hadn't done since Margaret's funeral. I cried. Not gentle tears, but deep, gasping sobs that shook my whole body. For Margaret, who I'd never see again. For my son, who'd betrayed me so completely. For the life I'd built, now crumbling around me. For the loneliness that stretched ahead like an endless highway with no exits. Eventually, the tears stopped. I washed my face in the tiny bathroom sink, looked at myself in the spotted mirror. Old, tired, beaten down, but not beaten. Not yet. 5 days before the conservatorship hearing, everything got worse. I'd arranged to meet Harper at a coffee shop to review strategy. The place was called Morning Grounds, a local spot where Margaret and I used to get lattes on Saturday mornings. The young barista, Sophie, used to remember Margaret's order without asking. Vanilla latte, extra hot with cinnamon. Sophie's smile faltered when I walked in. She took my order without the usual friendly chatter, avoiding eye contact. Other customers stared, then quickly looked away. The atmosphere felt hostile, like I was contaminating the air. Harper arrived 10 minutes later, noticed the tension immediately. We sat at a corner table, and I told him about the strange reception. "It's starting," he said grimly. "What's starting?" Before he could answer, a man approached our table. George Patterson, 68 years old, member of my woodworking club for 15 years. We'd built furniture together, shared techniques, traded stories over sawdust and sandpaper. "Caesar," George said, his voice cold. "George, good to see you. I'm not sure I can say the same." He crossed his arms. "I'm disappointed. I thought I knew you better." "What are you talking about?" "What everyone's talking about. What you did to Margaret. How you treated her all those years." My stomach dropped. "George, Margaret and I were married for 43 years. Happy years. That's not what I'm hearing. Everyone knows you were abusive. That she was too ashamed to tell anyone. That she died trying to get away from you. That's insane. Who told you this? Does it matter? Your daughter-in-law, your son? They're finally protecting Margaret's memory, protecting themselves from you. Frankly, I'm ashamed I never saw the signs." Harper stood up. "Mr. Patterson, I'm Caesar's attorney. What you're repeating could be considered slander." "Truth isn't slander." George looked at me with disgust. "Stay away from the woodworking club. You're not welcome anymore." He walked away. Other customers watched, some nodding in approval. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. "This is a coordinated attack," Harper said quietly. "They're destroying your reputation so that when the hearing happens, no one will believe your side. How do we fight this? We document everything. Record conversations if this state allows it, which Virginia does with one-party consent. We gather character witnesses who'll testify to your actual character. And we prepare for court." But it kept getting worse. That afternoon I went to my church, St. Mark's Presbyterian, where Margaret and I had attended for 40 years, where we'd been married, where we'd baptized Travis, where Margaret's funeral had been held just 2 weeks ago. Pastor Edmund met me at the door. He was 71, had officiated at our wedding when he was just a young minister fresh out of seminary. Now he looked uncomfortable, troubled. "Caesar, could we talk in my office?" We walked through the sanctuary. Margaret's flowers were gone, replaced by new arrangements for other services, other lives. In his office, Pastor Edmund closed the door, gestured to a chair. "I've received some troubling information," he began. "Let me guess." "About me," he nodded. "Amber came to see me 3 days ago. She was very upset. She told me things about your marriage, about Margaret's suffering. None of it's true. She had documentation. A diary, she said. Margaret's diary. Entries. Describing years of fear, of verbal abuse, of financial control, of being trapped. Margaret never kept a diary. The entries were detailed. Specific dates. Specific incidents. Very convincing. Can I see it?" She took it to the police. As evidence, she said. But she left photocopies for the church records, in case anyone questioned Margaret's state of mind during her final years. He pulled a folder from his desk, handed it to me. I opened it with trembling hands. Inside were pages that looked like diary entries, handwritten in what resembled Margaret's careful script. The entries detailed a nightmare marriage. A controlling husband who monitored spending, criticized constantly, isolated her from friends, fear and unhappiness spanning decades. It was complete fiction. But the handwriting looked authentic. Pastor Edmund, you married us. You knew Margaret. Does this sound like her? Does this sound like our marriage? He looked pained. I've known you both a very long time. I would have said no. This doesn't sound right at all. But abuse often happens behind closed doors. Victims hide it well. And the handwriting appears to be hers. It's forged. Just like everything else they've forged. Can you prove that? I'm working on it. But I need people who know me to trust me, to not believe these lies. Pastor Edmund was quiet for a long moment. I want to believe you, Caesar, but I have a responsibility to this congregation. Several members have expressed concerns. They're afraid. They think you might be dangerous. I've attended this church for 40 years. I've never been violent, never threatened anyone. I understand. But until this is resolved, I think it's best if you don't attend services, for everyone's comfort. Banned from my own church. The place where I'd worshipped, served on committees, donated time and money, where Margaret and I had celebrated communion together hundreds of times. I left without another word. What was there to say? That evening, I sat in the motel room, watching local news on the small television. The anchor, a young woman with perfect hair, introduced a segment on elder abuse awareness. Tonight, we examine a troubling case right here in our community, she said. A local woman speaks out about her father-in-law's alleged abuse of her late mother-in-law. The screen cut to an interview. Amber's face was blurred, her voice electronically disguised. But I knew it was her. She suffered for years, Amber said. Too proud to tell anyone, too ashamed. She protected him, made excuses. But we found her diary after she passed. The truth was there all along. What kind of abuse did she describe? The reporter asked. Emotional manipulation, financial control, verbal attacks. He made her feel worthless, powerless. She was trapped in her own home. And the family is taking action? We have to. For her memory. And to protect ourselves. He's been erratic since her death. Threatening. We've had to get legal protection. It's heartbreaking but necessary. The segment continued with expert commentary about recognizing elder abuse, statistics about domestic violence in senior populations, resources for victims. Then they showed footage of a church meeting, Street Marks, where the congregation was discussing support for abuse victims. My church. Meeting about me, though they didn't use my name. My phone buzzed. Harper had seen it too. This is bad, his text read. Call me. I called. He answered immediately. She's playing this perfectly, Harper said, creating a public narrative before the court hearing, making you into a monster, making herself into a hero. Can we zuher? Eventually, yes. But right now, we focus on the conservatorship hearing. 4 days away. If we lose that, she wins everything. After we hung up, my phone buzzed again. Email notification. The sender was Helen, Margaret's younger sister who lived in Oregon. Margaret and Helen had been close, talked every week, visited twice a year. I opened the email with dread. Caesar, I don't know what to think anymore. I received an anonymous letter yesterday with photocopies of Margaret's diary. Pages and pages describing how unhappy she was, how afraid, how trapped. I'm devastated. Was my sister suffering all this time and I never knew? Did you hurt her? Did you make her last years miserable? I'm contacting a lawyer. I may go to the police. I need answers. I stared at the screen. They'd sent the forged diary to Margaret's family, poisoning them against me. Helen would never believe me now. She'd seen the evidence. Seen Margaret's handwriting describing abuse that never happened. I tried to call her. It went to voicemail. I left a message. Helen, it's Caesar. Please call me back. Nothing in that diary is real. Margaret never wrote those things. Please, you knew us. You knew our marriage. Don't believe this. She didn't call back. I sat in the dark motel room, understanding the full scope of what Amber had done. She hadn't just forged documents to steal property. She'd forged an entire alternate history, created a narrative where I was the villain and Margaret was the victim, used Margaret's death to rewrite our entire marriage. And people believed it. My friends, my church, Margaret's family. They all believed I'd abused my wife for 43 years. The truth didn't matter. The evidence didn't matter. Amber had crafted a story, supported it with forged documents, and spread it through every channel available. By the time we got to court, everyone would already believe I was guilty. Harper called back an hour later. I've been getting calls, he said. Reporters wanting statements about the elder abuse case. They're not naming you directly, but it's clear who they mean. This story is spreading. What do? We stay quiet. Don't engage with media. Don't try to defend yourself publicly. It'll only make things worse. We save everything for court. 4 days, I said. 4 days. Caesar, I need to ask you something. Do you have resources? Financial resources beyond what they think you have? I was silent for a moment, then decided to trust him. Yes. Significant resource? Very significant. Then, we need to protect those immediately. If the conservatorship goes through, they'll have access to everything. Bank accounts, investments, property, everything. If there are assets they don't know about, we need to ensure they stay protected. They're already protected. Different accounts, different properties. All in my name only. Good. Keep it that way. Don't mention them. Don't hint at them. Let them think you're just a retired working man with a house and some savings. That's what they think. Perfect. Let them keep thinking it. Because when this is over, when we've exposed what they've done, you'll need those resources to rebuild your life. After we hung up, I sat in the darkness, thinking about Margaret, wondering what she'd say if she could see this. Probably something practical and wise. She always had been the smart one. You're stronger than they think, she'd said. Time to prove it. But first, I had to survive 4 more days of watching my life burn down around me. 3 days before the conservatorship hearing, my phone rang. Travis's number. I almost didn't answer. What could he possibly have to say? But curiosity won. I picked up. Dad? His voice sounded shaky, uncertain. Not the cold tone from the funeral day. What do you want, Travis? I need to talk to you. In person. Without Amber knowing. Why would I agree to that? Please. I found something. Something that changes everything. I can't discuss it over the phone. Against my better judgment, I agreed. We arranged to meet at Riverside Park the next morning, early, when few people would be around. I arrived first, sat on a bench overlooking the water. The river moved slowly, brown and sluggish. Ducks paddled near the shore. A jogger passed, earbuds in, oblivious. Travis arrived 10 minutes late, driving a different car than usual. He looked terrible. Unshaven, dark circles under his eyes, clothes rumpled. He sat next to me, wouldn't meet my eyes at first. I'm sorry, he said quietly. For which part? Kicking me out? Signing the restraining order? Filing for conservatorship? Helping your wife destroy my reputation? He flinched. All of it. I was wrong. I thought I was doing the right thing, but I was wrong. Why the sudden change of heart? He pulled a folded paper from his pocket, hands shaking. I was going through files for the court case, organizing documents. This fell out of a folder. He handed it to me. It was a bank statement. Addressed to me at the house. Investment account summary. Balance of $2,300,000. My blood ran cold. They'd found part of it. I had no idea you had this kind of money, Travis said. All these years, I thought you were just getting by on your pension and Social Security. Mom's teaching retirement, the house, that was it. But this, he gestured at the statement. This changes everything. How does it change anything? Because Amber lied to me. She told me you agreed to transfer the house, that you wanted us to have it, that you couldn't handle the responsibility anymore. She said you'd discussed it with her privately, that you were too proud to admit it to me directly. I believed her. I thought I was helping you. You thought wrong. I know. I see that now. I found other things too. Papers with your signature that I never saw you sign. Documents backdated. I think Amber's been forging things, Dad. I think she's been planning this for a long time. You think? Anger burned through me. Travis, she kicked me out of my house the day your mother died. The day she died. What kind of person does that? Someone desperate. He looked at me finally, eyes red. She's in debt. Bad debt. I didn't know how bad until I saw credit card statements she'd hidden. $70,000 across multiple cards. She's been lying to me about money for our entire marriage. So now that you know I have money, you want to protect me? It's not like that. Then what is it like? He was quiet for a moment. I know how this looks. I know you don't trust me, but I'm still your son. I made terrible mistakes, but I don't want to lose you. Not like we lost Mom. Pretty words. But I'd been burned too many times. What do you propose? Come back home. Drop the legal opposition to the conservatorship. I'll protect you from Amber. We'll work together, the way family should. You can live in your house again, safe. I'll make sure Amber doesn't take advantage. There it was, the real ask. Drop my legal defenses, make myself vulnerable, trust him to protect me. Give him access to that $2 million account, and whatever else he thought I might have. Why would I trust you? Because I'm your son. You were my son when you signed that restraining order. You were my son when you filed for conservatorship. Being my son hasn't meant much lately. I was manipulated. You're a grown man, Travis. You made choices. I know, and I'm trying to make better ones now. Please, Dad, let me help you. I looked at him, really looked at him, trying to see if there was any genuine remorse or if this was just another manipulation. Was he working with Amber? Sent here to trick me into compliance? Or had he really discovered her schemes and wanted to make amends? I need to think about it, I said finally. The hearing is in 3 days. I know when the hearing is. If you don't drop the opposition, if we go to court, things could get ugly. Amber has a lot of documentation, a lot of testimony lined up. You might lose. Is that a threat? It's a warning. As your son, I'm warning you. Take the easy way. Come home. Let me take care of things legally. It's better for everyone. I stood up. I'll let you know. Dad, please. I walked to my truck, got in, drove away. Watching Travis in the rearview mirror, standing alone by the river, looking small and defeated. Back at the motel, I called Harper immediately. Told him about the meeting. It's a trap, Harper said without hesitation. They found evidence you have money. Now they want you back under their control to access it. That's what I thought. Did he mention the amount? 2.3 million? He showed me the statement. So they know about one account. Do they know about the rest? I don't think so. That statement was for an older investment account I've had for years. The real money, the 35 million from selling my company, that's in completely separate accounts and trusts they've never had access to. Different banks, different city, different everything. Keep it that way. And Caesar, this is important. Don't go back to that house. Don't drop your legal opposition. This is their endgame. They get you back under their roof, get you to sign papers giving Travis legal authority, then drain everything they can find. I won't. Good, because we're close to breaking this open. Sterling finished his forensic analysis. The forgeries are provable. We have a strong case. Just hold on 3 more days. I spent the rest of that day and the next preparing with Harper, reviewing testimony, practicing answers to potential questions, organizing evidence. We had Sterling's handwriting analysis. Medical records from Dr. Fletcher showing no cognitive decline. Financial records proving competency. Character witnesses, though fewer than I'd hoped given Amber's smear campaign. 2 days before the hearing, Amber called me directly. First time she'd called since Margaret's funeral. "Caesar, Travis told me you two talked." "He did. I want to apologize. This whole situation got out of hand. I was grieving Margaret too, and I acted rashly. Emotions were high. I never meant to hurt you." The fake sincerity in her voice made me sick. "What do you want, Amber?" "I want us to be a family again. I want you to come home. I talked to our lawyer. We can drop the conservatorship petition, drop the restraining order, start fresh, for Travis's sake. For Margaret's memory. Margaret's memory." I almost laughed. "You've spent 2 weeks destroying Margaret's memory, creating a fictional diary where she's an abuse victim. I was trying to protect myself. I was scared. But I'm not scared anymore. I see now that I overreacted. Please, come home, let's fix this." "No. Caesar, be reasonable. I'll see you in court." I hung up. She tried calling back 3 times. I didn't answer. That night, I couldn't sleep. Kept thinking about Travis at the park, looking broken. About Amber's fake apology. About what would happen at the hearing. Would the judge believe Harper's evidence? Or would Amber's carefully constructed lies win? Around 2 in the morning, I gave up on sleep. Got dressed, decided to drive. No destination in mind, just needed to move. I ended up driving past my house. Couldn't help it. Like a moth to flame. The lights were on. Both Travis's car and Amber's SUV in the driveway. I parked down the street, far enough to not violate the restraining order, close enough to see. Through the living room window, I saw them arguing. Amber's hands waving, animated. Travis standing with his head down. Then Amber threw something, a glass maybe. It shattered. Travis flinched, but didn't fight back. I sat there watching the marriage I'd warned my son against imploding in real time. Part of me felt vindicated. Mostly, I just felt sad. My phone buzzed. Text from Harper. "Tomorrow morning, 9 a.m., my office. Final prep. Be ready." I texted back. "I'll be there." Then I drove back to the motel, managed a few hours of restless sleep, and woke to the day before the hearing that would determine whether I kept my freedom or lost everything. The day before the hearing, I met Harper at 9 sharp. His office smelled of coffee and paper. Julie, the receptionist, gave me an encouraging smile. "We're in good shape," Harper said, spreading documents across the conference table. "Sterling's analysis is bulletproof." Dr. Fletcher provided a comprehensive statement. "We have your financial records showing careful management, not incompetence. We're ready. So why do I feel like I'm about to lose? Because they've done a number on your reputation. Because family law is unpredictable. Because judges sometimes make mistakes." He looked at me seriously. "But Caesar, we have truth on our side. And evidence. That counts for something." We spent the day rehearsing. Harper played the role of opposing counsel, asking hostile questions. I practiced staying calm, answering clearly. We reviewed every forged document, every piece of evidence, every witness statement. By evening, my head ached from concentration. Harper sent me back to the motel with instructions to rest, eat something, try to sleep. I did none of those things. Instead, I sat in my truck outside the motel, thinking about Margaret, 43 years of marriage, and I'd never imagined it would end like this. Her gone, me fighting our own son in court. Around 9 that night, I made a decision. I drove to my house one last time, not to confront anyone, just to see it. The home I'd built with my own hands. I parked 3 blocks away, walked in the darkness, careful to stay on public property, not violate the restraining order, just close enough to look. The house was lit up. I could see movement through the windows. Travis pacing in the living room, Amber at the kitchen table with her laptop. I thought about all the memories those walls held. Travis learning to walk in that living room. Margaret reading in the sunroom. Christmas mornings. Birthday parties. quiet evenings. A lifetime contained in those rooms. Now it felt like a stranger's house. I was about to leave when I heard raised voices. The kitchen window was cracked open, probably to let in cool air. Sound carried in the quiet night. "I told you. I tried." Travis's voice, stressed and angry. "He wouldn't listen." "You're useless." Amber's voice, sharp and cold. "I married you because I thought there was money. 5 years I've wasted on your pathetic family, and what do I get? A dead mother-in-law and a stubborn old man who won't cooperate. Dad has $2 million. That's something. That's nothing. I owe $60,000 to the casino alone. Another $70,000 in credit cards. The $2 million won't even cover my debts after taxes and your cut." My heart pounded. I pulled out my phone, started recording. Virginia was a one-party consent state for recordings, but even without that, what I was hearing was too important not to capture. "After my cut?" Travis sounded confused. "You think I'm giving you half?" "Travis, honey, let me explain something. Tomorrow, that conservatorship goes through. You become your father's legal guardian. We access his accounts, drain the $2 million, and I'm done." "Done with what?" "Done with you. Done with this marriage. I'm filing for divorce the day after the money's transferred. My lawyer already has the papers drawn up." Silence. Then Travis's voice, broken. "You're leaving me? Did you really think I loved you?" "I researched your family, Travis. Found out your father owned a construction supply company. Figured he had to have money somewhere. You were my ticket to financial security. But you're just a weak, pathetic mama's boy who let his father get kicked out of his own house without a fight. I thought we were protecting ourselves. We were protecting me. From your father, from debt collectors, from bankruptcy. You were just useful. Barely. What about Mom's funeral?" you cried. "You seemed to care." Amber laughed, harsh and cold. "I cried because your mother dying meant I could finally make my move. I'd been planning this for 18 months, ever since your father had that surgery. Perfect opportunity to get his signatures, practice forging them. Dr. Russo cost me $5,000 to get him to sign that psychiatric evaluation for tomorrow. The diary took me 3 months to forge, copying your mother's handwriting from old letters. This has been a long game, Travis. And tomorrow, I finally win." "You forged Mom's diary?" "Obviously. You think your mother kept a diary? She was too busy grading papers and cooking dinner. I created that diary, filled it with abuse allegations, made everyone believe your father was a monster. Genius, really. By the time we get to court, he has no credibility. No one believes him. No character witnesses. Just a sad old man trying to hold on to money he doesn't deserve. This is insane. We can't do this. We already did it. And tomorrow it's done. The judge grants conservatorship. You sign the papers I've prepared putting your father's money in joint accounts. I drain it, file for divorce, and you never see me again. Congratulations. You betrayed your father for a woman who despises you." I heard Travis start crying. Actual sobs. "I can't do this." "Yes, you can. Because if you don't, I'll tell the police you were in on it, that you helped forge documents, that you planned your mother's isolation in her final days, that you're guilty of elder abuse. I have evidence pointing to you. Texts on your phone I sent from your account while you were sleeping. Emails. You'll go to prison, Travis, unless you cooperate tomorrow. You set me up. I covered my bases. Now go to bed. Tomorrow's a big day." I heard footsteps, doors closing. I stopped the recording, hands shaking so hard, I almost dropped the phone. I had everything. Amber's full confession, her admission of forgery, bribery, fraud, her plan to drain my accounts and abandon Travis. All recorded, clear as day. I walked back to my truck, got in, immediately called Harper. It was late, but he answered. "I have it," I said. "I have everything." "Caesar? What are you talking about?" I told him about the recording, what I'd heard. Harper was silent for a long moment. Then, "Send it to me, now, and get back to the motel. We need to prepare a revised strategy for tomorrow." I sent the file while sitting in the truck. Harper called back within minutes. "This is gold," he said. "This destroys their entire case. But Caesar, we need to be careful how we use it. If we just play it in court, Amber might claim illegal recording, file motions to suppress. We need to do this right. What do you suggest?" "Let me handle it. Come to my office tomorrow morning, 6 a.m., 3 hours before the hearing. We're going to end this." I barely slept that night, kept replaying Amber's words in my head. The coldness, the calculation, the complete lack of remorse. She'd destroyed my reputation, forged my dead wife's handwriting, bribed a doctor, manipulated my son, all for money she thought I had. She had no idea what I actually had. No clue that the $2 million she was so desperate to steal represented less than 6% of my actual wealth. If she'd known about the $35 million, about the Los Angeles villa, she probably would have tried even harder. At 5 in the morning, I gave up on sleep, showered in the motel's tiny bathroom, put on my best suit. Margaret had bought me this suit 10 years ago for a company dinner. Navy blue, still fit well. I looked in the mirror and saw an old man trying to look dignified while his life fell apart. But today, maybe, things would change. I arrived at Harper's office at 6, exactly. He was already there, coffee brewing, documents organized. "Here's what's going to happen," he said. The courtroom was smaller than I expected. Wood paneling, fluorescent lights, the seal of the Commonwealth of Virginia on the wall behind the judge's bench. Rows of seats for observers, most empty this early. A bailiff standing by the door. A court reporter setting up her machine. Amber and Travis sat at the petitioner's table with their attorney, a sharp-looking woman in her 40s named Linda Morris. Amber wore a modest blue dress, minimal makeup, playing the concerned daughter-in-law. Travis looked sick, pale, couldn't stop fidgeting. Harper and I sat at the respondent's table. He was calm, organized, confident. I tried to mirror that confidence, but my hands wouldn't stop shaking. At 9 sharp, Judge Martha Chen entered. We all stood. She was in her 60s, stern face, gray hair pulled back severely. She'd been on the bench for 20 years, according to Harper's research. Fair but no nonsense. "Please be seated," she said, settling into her chair. "This is a hearing on a petition for emergency conservatorship. Case number 23-4567. Petitioners Travis Whitmore and Amber Whitmore versus respondent Caesar Whitmore." Linda Morris stood. "Your Honor, petitioners seek appointment of Mr. Travis Whitmore as conservator over the person and estate of Mr. Caesar Whitmore, on grounds that Mr. Whitmore is unable to properly manage his affairs due to declining cognitive function following the death of his spouse." Judge Chen looked at me over her reading glasses. "Mr. Whitmore, you're represented by counsel?" "Yes, Your Honor." Harper stood. Douglas Harper, for the respondent. "Very well. Miss Morris, call your first witness." They started with Dr. Russo, the corrupt psychiatrist Amber had bribed. He took the stand, swore to tell the truth, then proceeded to lie extensively. Claimed he'd evaluated me 2 weeks prior. Found significant memory loss, confusion, inability to manage finances, classic signs of early dementia. Harper's cross-examination was surgical. "Dr. Russo, you testified you evaluated Mr. Whitmore on October 10th? "That's correct." "At what time?" "Approximately 2 in the afternoon." Harper produced phone records. "Your Honor, these records show Mr. Whitmore was at his regular physician's office on October 10th from 1:30 to 3:15. Doctor, Samuel Fletcher will testify that Mr. Whitmore was receiving his annual physical examination during that time. Dr. Russo could not have evaluated Mr. Whitmore on that date." Russo's face went red. "I may have confused the date. You may have confused the date of an evaluation that supposedly showed severe cognitive decline? What other dates did you see Mr. Whitmore? I would need to check my records." "Please do." Russo fumbled with his phone, scrolled through notes, couldn't produce an answer. Judge Chen's expression hardened. "Dr. Russo, did you actually evaluate Mr. Whitmore at all?" Harper asked. I provided a professional opinion based on described behaviors. So you never met him, never examined him, yet you signed an evaluation claiming he has dementia? I relied on family reports. Reports from people seeking to control his assets? Morris objected. Judge Chen overruled. Russo left the stand looking destroyed. Next, Morris called Amber. She took the stand, dabbed at her eyes with a tissue, played the grieving daughter-in-law beautifully. My father-in-law has been struggling since Margaret passed, she said. He's confused, forgetful. He threatened us, destroyed property. We fear for our safety. You filed a restraining order? Morris asked. Yes. He was becoming aggressive. We had no choice. And you discovered he had significant assets he wasn't managing properly? Yes. Bank statements showing large sums just sitting in accounts. He didn't even remember having that money. It's clear he needs help managing his affairs. Harper's cross-examination was gentle at first. Mrs. Whitmore, you've testified to Mr. Whitmore's cognitive decline. When did you first notice this? Shortly after Margaret died. Not before? Well, maybe some small signs, such as forgetting conversations, repeating himself. Can you give specific examples? She couldn't. Her answers became vague, contradictory. Harper pressed harder. Mrs. Whitmore, you mentioned discovering bank statements. How did you obtain those statements? They were in the house. Mr. Whitmore's private financial documents. How did you access them? Travis and I were helping organize after Margaret's death. Without Mr. Whitmore's permission? We were trying to help. Harper produced the forged quitclaim deed. Mrs. Whitmore, are you familiar with this document? Amber studied it. It looks like a property transfer. It's a quitclaim deed, allegedly signed by Mr. Whitmore, transferring his house to Travis. Did you witness this signature? I don't recall. The document is dated 2 months before Margaret's death. Do you remember Mr. Whitmore signing it? I'm not sure. Harper produced Sterling's forensic analysis. Your Honor, I'd like to enter into evidence a handwriting analysis by Alan Sterling, a certified forensic document examiner. His analysis concludes this signature, along with multiple other signatures on documents filed by the petitioners, are sophisticated forgeries. Morris objected. Judge Chen reviewed the analysis, allowed it into evidence. Mrs. Whitmore, Harper continued, do you know anything about forged documents? No. Do you know a man named Philip Russo? Her face flickered. Just for a second, but I saw it. The doctor who testified? I've met him. How did you meet him? Through mutual acquaintances. Did you pay him to provide a false evaluation of Mr. Whitmore? Absolutely not. Harper nodded. We'll come back to that. One more question. You testified that you and your husband discovered Mr. Whitmore had financial assets he wasn't managing. What was your immediate plan upon discovering these assets? To help him manage them properly, not to access them yourselves? We wanted to help. Your Honor, I'd like to play an audio recording made last night. Mr. Whitmore legally recorded a conversation on his own property under Virginia's one-party consent law. Morris objected strenuously. Harper argued the recording was legal, relevant, and probative. Judge Chen listened to arguments, then allowed it. Harper played the recording. The courtroom listened to Amber's voice, crystal clear, admitting everything. The forgeries, the bribery, the fake diary, the plan to drain my accounts and divorce Travis, her contempt for my son, her admission that she'd researched my family for financial gain before even dating Travis. The color drained from Amber's face. Travis put his head in his hands. Morris looked like she'd been punched. When the recording ended, the courtroom was silent. Judge Chen spoke, her voice cold. Mrs. Whitmore, do you have anything to say? Amber couldn't speak. Just shook her head. Counselor, Judge Chen addressed Morris. Does your client wish to withdraw this petition? Morris conferred with Amber and Travis. After a moment, she stood. Yes, Your Honor. Petitioners withdraw. I thought so. Mr. Whitmore, Judge Chen looked at me. I apologize on behalf of this court for what you've endured. The conservatorship petition is denied. The restraining order is vacated immediately. She turned to Amber. Mrs. Whitmore, I'm forwarding this recording to the Commonwealth's attorney for potential criminal charges. You may wish to retain counsel. Bailiff, please take Mrs. Whitmore into custody. The bailiff moved forward. Amber stood, tried to run, got 3 steps before he caught her. She screamed, thrashed, finally collapsed into tears as handcuffs clicked around her wrists. She set me up, Amber yelled. Travis knew everything. He helped me. Travis stood, voice shaking. That's not true. I didn't know. Dad, I swear, I didn't know. Judge Chen banged her gavel. Mr. Whitmore, you may face separate proceedings. That's for the Commonwealth's attorney to determine. This hearing is adjourned. They led Amber out, still screaming. Travis tried to approach me, but Harper stepped between us. Don't, Harper said quietly. Not now. Travis looked at me with desperate eyes. Dad, please. I'm sorry. I was stupid, but I didn't know what she was doing. Please believe me. I looked at my son, broken, humiliated, publicly destroyed. Part of me wanted to comfort him, but a larger part remembered him standing silent while Amber kicked me out on the day Margaret died. Remembered him signing the restraining order, filing the conservatorship petition, letting his wife destroy my reputation. I need time, I said. A lot of time. Travis nodded, tears streaming down his face. Then he walked out of the courtroom alone. Harper turned to me. You won. Yeah. How does it feel? Hollow, if I was being honest, but also relieved. Finally, after weeks of hell, it was over. 3 months later, I stood on the balcony of my villa in Los Angeles, watching the sun set over the Pacific Ocean. The house was beautiful, modern architecture, floor-to-ceiling windows, infinity pool, everything Margaret and I had dreamed about when we planned our retirement. She never got to see it. We'd bought it 6 months before she died, planning to move after I sold the company. She'd picked out furniture online, chosen paint colors, imagined our life here. Now, I was living that life alone. Margaret's wedding photo sat on the mantel inside. I'd hung some of her embroidered pillows on the couch. Small pieces of her in this new place. The legal aftermath had been complicated. Amber was indicted on 14 counts, including fraud, forgery, elder abuse, and conspiracy. She was looking at 10 years minimum. Her lawyer was pushing for a plea deal. The Commonwealth's attorney wasn't interested. Dr. Russo lost his medical license, faced his own charges for accepting bribes. The church and community members who'd believed Amber's lies had apologized, some in person, most through awkward phone calls. I'd accepted the apologies without comment. What else could I do? Travis avoided prosecution. The Commonwealth's attorney determined he'd been manipulated, that while he'd been foolish and weak, he hadn't participated in the forgeries or known about the bribery. He was divorcing Amber, had moved into a small apartment across town from our old house. He called me once a week. I didn't always answer. When I did, conversations were brief, painful. He was trying to apologize, trying to rebuild. I was trying to figure out if I could ever trust him again. The honest answer was probably no. I'd donated $100,000 to the National Center on Elder Abuse in Margaret's name. Sent anonymous tips to 3 other elderly people in my community who I suspected were being financially exploited by relatives. Set up a trust to provide free legal services for seniors facing conservatorship proceedings. Harper had become a friend. We talked every few weeks, him from his office in Virginia, me from various rooms in the villa. He'd handled the criminal case brilliantly, advocating for the harshest charges against Amber. You should write a book, he'd said during one call. This whole thing, it's a cautionary tale. Maybe someday. The house in Virginia sat empty. I couldn't bring myself to sell it yet, though I'd never live there again. Too many ghosts. Eventually, I'd probably donate it to a charity. Let it become something useful instead of just a monument to betrayal. I'd met some neighbors here in Los Angeles. Attended a local woodworking club. Started building furniture again. It helped, having projects. Keeping my hands busy. One woman, Susan, had invited me to dinner twice. I declined both times. Too soon. Maybe someday, but not yet. As the sun touched the horizon, turning the ocean gold and red, I thought about everything Margaret had taught me. Strength wasn't about fighting back immediately. Sometimes strength was patience, strategy, letting people reveal themselves while you held your cards close. She'd been right. I was stronger than they thought. Strong enough to endure the humiliation, the isolation, the legal attacks. Strong enough to wait for the right moment to reveal the truth. And in the end, that strength had saved me. I went inside, poured a glass of wine from a bottle Margaret had picked out before she died, sat on the couch with her pillows around me, raised the glass in a silent toast to her memory. I kept my promise, I said to the empty room. I didn't let them push me around. Somewhere, I hoped she was smiling. The life lesson I'd learned through all this was simple but profound. People reveal their true character not when times are good, but when they think they have power over you. Amber thought I was helpless, so she showed her cruelty. Travis thought I was weak, so he showed his cowardice. The community thought I was guilty, so they showed how quickly they'd abandon someone they'd known for decades. But real character isn't about how you treat people who can reward you. It's about how you treat people who can't fight back. It's about integrity when no one's watching. It's about standing up for truth, even when everyone believes lies. Margaret understood that. She'd married a young construction worker with nothing but ambition and integrity. She'd believed in me when I started my company. She'd supported me through failures and successes. And in her final moments, she'd reminded me that wealth meant nothing compared to dignity and self-respect. I had the money. I had the villa. I had my freedom and my reputation restored. But what I really had was the knowledge that when everything was stripped away, when I was just an old man in a cheap motel with nothing but a photo of my wife, I'd maintained my integrity. I'd played the long game. I'd been patient, strategic, and ultimately victorious. That was worth more than $35 million. That was worth everything. Now, I want to ask you something. Have you ever been in a situation where people underestimated you, where they thought you were powerless, only to discover you were far stronger than they imagined? How did you handle it? Did you fight back immediately, or did you wait for the right moment? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your stories. And if this story resonated with you, if it reminded you that patience and integrity can triumph over manipulation and greed, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Share this with anyone who might need to hear that sometimes the best revenge is simply refusing to be the victim people expect you to be. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it brought you some measure of satisfaction, maybe even inspiration. Remember, true strength isn't loud or aggressive. Sometimes it's quiet, patient, and absolutely unshakable. Take care of yourselves and each other. Until next time.